Hi there, and welcome to WhyBuy. In this special legacy series, we're going to be taking a look at the Game Boy and its iterations, games, accessories, how they helped shape the modern handheld video game culture that exists today. In this multi-part series, we're going to be taking a look at a ton of great products. So stick around and let's start with part one, the Game Boy. So I think the best place to start is to discuss that the Nintendo Game Boy was really the first time you could ever play quality games handheld. It wasn't just about, having something on the go, but it was having something of quality on the go, whether that was side scrollers, games with better sound, graphics. This was really a revolutionary time in handheld gaming because you weren't bound to a television screen or an arcade anymore. This was something that could literally fit in your pocket and that you could play for hours on end no matter where you were. I think it's important to understand the era and the time people were living in. This was basically the first transition of video games from the arcade into the living room. But when Gunpei Yokoi was riding on a train and he saw adults trying to kill time by playing on a calculator, that's where the inspiration started for the Game Boy. And that idea would come to completely revolutionize the handheld video game market. What made the Game Boy so successful was the games. All you have to do is look at a title like Tetris. Simple in its design, easy to pick up and play, but it didn't matter what your skill level was, you could progress and continue to enjoy the game no matter how long you had been playing it. It's been a long time since the Game Boy's initial release, but you have to understand this was a big deal in terms of the design. Now, people refer to it as the brick because it looks like a brick, but I think what's important to note is that it still holds up today in terms of its form factor and ease to play. You have to think, there wasn't really anything like this to benchmark against at the time, and not only did it drop people's jaws when it released, but it's still fun to play today and it's still comfortable. And it really paved the way for a lot of handheld device technology. And just in the simple ease of access for its ports, whether it's charging or battery replacement, even the headphones to incorporate stereo sound if you wanted to plug in and have a better audio quality than just the built-in speaker in the device. Everything about the Game Boy at the time was revolutionary. Everything probably except the screen. Now, it doesn't really hold up well today, and you shouldn't really expect it to, considering it's been so long since its initial release. But even at the time, what was really attractive about the Game Boy wasn't its amazing screen, it was the games that was on it. But that lack in quality in the screen would be an opportunity for competitors to try and enter the marketplace. Nintendo had dominated the handheld console market, but there was something new, something that had not only a color screen, but backlighting. The Sega Game Gear. Now, the Sega Game Gear was something that no one really expected. And they came at Nintendo really aggressively. Here was another cartridge-based handheld system that offered something that Nintendo really couldn't. The fact that it had a colored screen where you could see just the beauty in the game design, especially in games like Sonic, or the fact that it was backlit and you didn't have to play in a lit room. You could play at night or not have to worry about angling the screen too much. But what really separated Sega, I think, from Nintendo is how aggressive they were with their marketing. Constantly attacking Nintendo being edgier and wittier with, you know, what their systems could offer that Nintendo couldn't. Really, this sparked a great rivalry between two totally different handheld consoles. And while the Sega offered, you know, technical features that the Game Boy didn't, I think a lot of people still gravitated towards Nintendo because the quality of the games mixed with the portability of the console, there was a lot of things that the Game Boy just did right. I think one of the standout features of, you know, the Game Boy over the Game Gear is that just how many batteries were required to power this thing. Yes, it was great having a backlit screen and color, but let's be real here, it was about portability and being able to take this with you on extended trips. No one wanted to pack a bunch of batteries and have this sucker juice through them in a couple hours. What I also think is interesting is that the introduction of the Game Gear, it sparked competition that really opened up the door for the accessories market on the Game Boy. Looking at the accessories for the Game Boy, I mean, you really have to look at this as what paved the way for, you know, what we see now in terms of iPhone accessories or even laptop accessories, anything that was portable. There was this whole market that supported it in terms of unique ways to express yourself or enhance the experience. And I think there's a lot of interesting, you know, quirky innovations that came for the Game Boy that, you know, some were really great. Having a Game Boy was being part of a culture. And that culture, you know, you couldn't just have a console. If you were a more serious gamer and, you know, you wanted to show off to your friends, you would have the ultimate accessory. I remember when my brother got the Handy Boy, and, you know, this was probably the equivalent of what would be like the Power Glove. Something that was just such a shock and awe. But really, I mean, in its practical application, it just was so ridiculous. But back in the day, this was something that when you saw it and someone had it, it's like, wow, like, I gotta step up my game, or there's no way I can throw down with this guy. I think when it comes down to it, out of all of the accessories, the light equipment, the magnification, nothing tops the Handy Boy with its stereo fold-out speakers and its magnification screen built in. You gotta wonder, oh, it's got light and it's got sound. How is it getting its power? And this is, you know, the innovation coming in. Look at this hot wiring jumper cables that's supposed to wire into the back of the Game Boy. There's no way this stuff was up to code. But it didn't matter if you were a gamer. This was like, oh, I'll figure it out. I got a soldering iron, I'll make this work. I only wish that I didn't lose the joystick click-on to enhance, you know, the D-pad and the buttons. Ridiculous. The Game Boy amplifier. Of course, you wanted that soundtrack blaring just a little bit louder, and why not? This was a great accessory because it didn't actually drain the batteries off of your Game Boy. It used its own separate power pack, so, you know, how cool is that? Still in the original packaging. Now, there are some accessories for the Game Boy that hold up better now than they did then. And this thing was an embarrassment. You didn't want to go to school or lug around this suitcase that looks like a Game Boy. I could totally see a marketing department being like, this is what people want. This is what the kids are gonna have everywhere. And it's a walking billboard for the Game Boy. And it wasn't cool at the time. You know, now looking back, if I can open the case, there we go. It is a really cool accessory to have. You know, you have your slots for your games. You could put your gaming accessories in here, your charger so that you didn't have to use your batteries. The Game Boy extra batteries, like looking back on all these accessories, especially stuff like this, I'm grateful that I have it because really it's a good physical representation of the demand and the popularity of the Game Boy at the time. Why else would they make stuff like this? It is really an amazing product that had tons of support because there was just tons of demand. Out of all the accessories for the Game Boy, the compact carrying case is probably my favorite. Aesthetically, I think they did the best work on it. It has beautiful stitching, places to put your games, belt loop on the back, Velcro top for the Game Boy. It was just something that really, I think just from a personal taste perspective, was a great contrast and just the accessory I wanted the most. I think if you look back over the handheld products Nintendo has released, what's interesting is that they were never really the best representation of the available technology at the time. It wasn't a specs flex. What it was a tested gameplay experience that was really good and available technology so that the price point of the device could be more accessible to gamers. One of the iterations that was stumbled upon was the Comboy. This is probably one of the more rare Game Boys that you'll ever see, the Hyundai Comboy Mini. And essentially what this is it's not just a silkscreen rebranding, it's really a way to penetrate into a market where, due to conflict, the Game Boy wasn't actually sold, and that was in South Korea. So by total fluke, this was bought, and it actually turns out it's a really rare and significant find. So, you know, for your enjoyment, here's some footage of it, and yeah, it's just kind of a, you know, a happy accident. One of the best competitive advantages that Game Boy had was the Super Game Boy. Now, if you had a Super Nintendo and the cartridge adapter, you could actually take your Game Boy games and play them on a television. But it wasn't just playing a Game Boy game on TV. You had added artwork on the side banners to fill the gaps in the screen, and you had access to new color palettes to colorize the games to play them in ways you hadn't seen before. So although the Game Boy was dominating the handheld market, they still had stiff competition. You have to remember that the Sega Game Gear still offered a backlit screen, and they also offered color. Now, while the Play It Loud campaign offered Game Boys in a colored format, the Game Boy Pocket was really the last marketing attempt to try and compete with the other handhelds at the time. You had a bit improved screen, the form factor was smaller, but it really wasn't a dramatic enough jump to a color screen or a backlit screen to compete with, say, the Sega Game Gear. So as a consumer, as a gamer, was this it? Was this going to be the last attempt at Game Boy competing? So if you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe, show your support, and keep a lookout for the other parts in this series. Thanks for watching. Responsive, it's quick. It's responsive, it's quick, it's fast. So I just want to take a quick moment to thank the actual customer who owns these products. Typically in WhyBuy reviews, it's always the customer who owns a product talking about it on screen. But in this special series, there was just such a great collection that we had an opportunity to cover that we didn't want to pass on the opportunity. So working with the customer who owns these products, kind of coaching me and explaining their story and having me sort of retell it was really special. And it you know, not only helped me relive my nostalgia and love for Nintendo and handheld video games, but I really do think that it was a special treat to be able to cover just such a wide range of this collection and deliver something that is not only educational, but just a lot of fun. So thanks for watching, and thank you to everyone who is involved in this and made it possible.